Hi there, Celine here, and back with another video. Today, I want to talk about what creativity is, and I'm also going to share 7 tips or ways that you can harness your creative power in your life. This theme or topic of creativity has really been, I suppose, the theme of my life for the last 6 years since I had breast cancer. It's just changed everything, understanding it on a deeper level, or understanding it at all, because I didn't. I really thought that creativity was just sort of a gift that certain people had. I didn't really get at all that it's who we are. At our very core, our source is creative energy. It's infinite, creative, flowing, beautiful energy. And I know that because I tap into it all the time now, especially when I'm writing. So I feel really strongly about this, that we need to change this sort of maybe perception, which I think is still very much alive and well with many people, that they aren't creative, and just that it's only available to certain people. It's available to all of us if we want to tune in and tap into it and accept that we are creative beings. For me, what creativity is, it's it's our very source. It comes from within. The creative impulse is who we are. We are spirit in a body who is here with our greatest mission, as I see it, or purpose, to express ourselves and to create. And creativity can take many forms. We all know the traditional, or what we would say, the arts, like writing and painting and music. But creating, or the act of creativity or creating, is everything. It's everything we do. You can create, gosh, anything. You can create your life, is the most important, which I'll talk about further. But you could be creating an experience in your life. You could be creating relationships with different people. It might be something you produce. Maybe you create something like I don't know, a physical object, a table. Everything. I suppose it's knowing, rather than things just happening. And that's a big theme of my book, Gifts from the Devastation. It's really that life or anything isn't happening to us. It's happening for us, and it's with us because we are creating with um, the life source, the God force, the infinite, whatever you want to call that, but it's our source, what we come from. So, if you sort of really, I suppose, if that's something that you understand about yourself and your life, it changes everything. It's changed everything for me, and it's been so empowering. There's a responsibility with it too, because understanding that with everything you do, think, say, act, behave, you're creating. So what I want to do here, in terms of, as I said, what creativity is the essence of us as human beings. That's really how I see it. I think it's how it is. Um, and I want to share 7, I think 7, I might get the number not so correct, but a few pointers on how you can harness and really step into your creative powers. And I share them based on my own personal experience, from others I've learned from, and yeah, putting it into practice and what has really worked in my life. And it's unfolding and it's deepening, because it's infinite, as are we. So there is no, that's what I'm seeing, even in the last number of years since I had cancer. It's not like, and I talk about it because it's a landmark in my life, and there's other landmark moments too. But it's when I suppose became more conscious in my life. That's why it sort of stands out as a point in my life. Not that others didn't, but it was the time when I started to become much more conscious. And that's when then, you know, we can step into consciously creating rather than creating unconsciously and believing that life is happening to us, because that's how I experienced life. My whole message, and one of the greatest gifts from cancer has been that, the greatest gift has obviously been my connection with my source and the infinite, the God force within, and then being able to align and really consciously connect with it and create my life and things in my life. So without further ado, I'll share now 7 tips or steps, but that I find I really work for me when I sort of put them into practice. So the first is, and it's around giving yourself time to daydream, to imagine, to visualize. So whether it's a life that you want to create, a job that you want to create, a book that you want to write, a relationship that you want to have, whatever it is, you need to get silent, because it's this creative source is beyond our minds. So it's often good, you know, that daydreaming mode you're in when you're not consciously planning or thinking of anything. That's often when little subtle little ideas and thoughts come in, and it can be conscious. You can be, I want to live, which I'll say it out loud because it is the case for me. I have this image, and it's getting clearer and clearer by the day, of living in a more rural location near trees, yeah, in the countryside, in a quiet location, in nature, with animals. And yeah, and I now find, I remember somebody saying that to me, the more you visualize it, you'll find someday you'll just be walking somewhere and you'll see something and you'll just know that's it. And I have seen somewhere, don't know, I'm not going to say, yeah, but it's got a good sense of bringing that to life. Not saying it's exactly that, but it's been fleshed out all the time in my imagination and my daydreaming, and my visualization. So something I read once, I thought it was really, and I sense it for myself as well, that all you're doing, rather than going, I'm hoping this, it's not about hoping. You're actually, if you sense that everything is within this infinite creative energy, it's already there. You know, we talk about the quantum reality, all these different, all we're doing is just stepping in and tapping in and becoming, through our energy, that version. So for example, the image of where I see myself living is there. It's just I'm getting closer to it in terms of my visualization and aligning with it through my energy. But it's very enjoyable. And I would have dismissed this aspect of my life in the past because I wasn't busily doing, you know, daydreaming was a waste of time. So it's where I found I need a lot of time for that now. And it's really where where I really tap into what they say, the finished product, because I've said that in an interview actually I did about my book about a week ago, and it was the truth just came out. I said, you know, I really feel that book was written and done. All I did was reach up and literally was like downloaded and I wrote it, but it was done. I knew it. It actually came to me in chapters. I remember saying it to someone. It wasn't like I was struggling around. It literally was, the chapter title came to me and then boom, the content. Now there was a lot of editing and over and back, but that sort of, so even just for me, sort of really, that's a really good way. So if you think of it, it's already done, it's already finished, it's there. What you just need to do is bring it to life from that space. So that's the first, and I believe really, really important. The second tip I would suggest, and it's sort of aligned, is that whole like listening to your intuition. So again, it's in the silent space. Again, that's really important to sort of cultivate that in your life and making time for it, whether it's getting out in nature, meditating, the more you do it, the more I find now my mind generally is very quiet, really is, compared to what it used to be. And almost, when I'm left to my own devices, I'm nearly always in that place. Obviously things will come in and I have to do, or I might get worried about something. So that sort of silent space is really worth cultivating in your life. And then you start to hear your intuition, the nudges you get. And what I've noticed is they're often, and the feeling, so a feeling you might get about something, and they're usually very subtle and fast moving. I notice that I could be out walking. This has happened to me so many times, and something comes to me. I could be listening to something else and a thought or an idea, and I don't, often I've had to stop and record it or write it down. If I don't and I leave it and I keep walking, it's gone. So I've just sort of become a little better at recognizing that they're the seed of something. So it starts very subtle. So really just cultivating and trusting and practicing. It's a lot of practice as well, tapping into your intuition. And it can be a new way of being. If this isn't the way you normally relate to life or the whole process of creating things, when it wasn't at all my way. So it's always a practice. And that brings me on to the third point, which I wouldn't have thought about creativity, but I've learned for myself it is really important, is discipline. And I wrote an article recently for this women's publication, but they asked me to write an article on my writing process. And I remember thinking, gosh, what's my writing process? And it sort of helped. This is what led me to this video as well, because one of the things I wrote about was discipline. And what I see by discipline, the way I look at it, is it's a mixture of structure and flow. So I obviously you need to be very much in flow, as I talked about at the beginning, daydreaming, tapping into the silence. And it's not an empty silence, it's a very full, alive silence. And that's where you connect with the ideas. But also, if I didn't have any discipline or structure, I would not have written a book and I wouldn't have finished it. So the structure can come from, I'll just give you an example. What I did, and I still do, it's a really important part of my life. I like this aspect of creating. I'll have a routine most days, and I always feel the calling to sit, and whether it's to daydream or something just flows through. So it could be building in blocks of time. Maybe it isn't that you can give a lot of time, even maybe if it's an hour a week, if it's 2 hours a week, if it's an hour a day, if it's all day, whatever it is, that you build in some sort of routine or structure to allowing, and even by just saying that to yourself, I'm now going into creative mode or creating mode, so that you become to know, your body nearly knows, and everything, that you're sort of, okay, this is the time now I can let loose. Maybe have a special space, obviously like a desk or a room, or maybe you have a place that you go to if you paint or whatever it is that you're doing that's creative, that you have a sort of a place that you can go. Keep it quite tidy, I find. I mean, everybody's different, where I can access everything I need, and have my laptop and pens, and I might want to light a candle. And I have a little bit of a ritual around it. I think that's really important, because the whole process of creating is very sacred when you know and understand that what you're tapping into is that beautiful, creative, infinite source that you come from, the source of everything. It's just, on the really good days, when I get into that space, it's just magic. It's just magic. I don't want to come out. But there are days that I don't feel like that. So there is that sort of finding the balance, not forcing or pushing yourself when you don't feel able, but also having that sort of structure in your life to dedicate to it. Another point or tip I would suggest is around how you speak and what you say about what you're creating or don't say. There's a book, I think it's way back, it's an older book, by Florence Scovel Shine, I think her name is. And she wrote a lot of books, The Game of Life and How to Play It. I think your word is your wand, something to that effect. And that's really in it as well, I don't know if it's in that book, but in one of her books that really I resonated with me was about, and a friend remember saying it to me once, that if there's something very at the early stages in your imagination that you're creating, whether it's writing or painting or a job or anything that you want to create in your life, just be careful, I would say, about speaking too openly too early. Because, for example, say it's even when I was writing with an idea for a book, if I say it too early to someone and they look at me a bit funny, or they say, gosh, are you really, is that what you're going to write about? It can throw you off. So you need to sort of, like little planting a seed, you need to let it settle in, you need to nurture it, you need to let it start taking shape. You know, if you have little seeds in a little propagation tray, and then when they're strong enough, you put them out in the garden. So that's sort of, and then when you do speak about it, when you feel called to, you'll know yourself to use very positive can-do words rather than saying, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to work out. Whatever you feel, just be very conscious of the power of your words. It's another facet to the whole process of creation. A fifth point then is about taking action, which is sort of, I've been touching on it, but it could be, as well as the structure and the discipline to sitting down. What I noticed recently, I'll bring it back because it's just on my mind now again, to my book, and I just published it. And there's a lot of things I'm doing and want to do around promoting it and just talking about it and sharing it, because it's a big part of my life right now. And sometimes there's so much I want to do. I'm not sure where to start, but I generally, as much as I can, I put it out there, and I say, what do I need to do today? And it's often what I maybe didn't plan to do. Maybe it's following the nudge, make that phone call. Like I just spoke with the bookshop this morning that I wasn't going to for some reason. I just felt a bit of a block around it. And something told me, and I picked up the phone and I got talking to them and I had a lovely conversation, and they're going to stock the book. And even that, I trusted it. And if I had got, stuck with my mind and my ego and all the sort of limitations or whatever it was saying to me, oh, they won't like it. There's all this talk, rubbish talk really going on. So I sort of overrode it. I'm getting better at overriding, the ego and the mind and its view of how things should be. And so, yeah, just the action, being alert to, and that's tapping into your intuition again. So when you get the feeling, and it could be to make a phone call, it could be to talk to someone. And the whole thing, when I was saying there about words, I'm finding that very interesting. If there's something, not necessarily like a creative project, like a book or a painting, but say it's something that's more of a lifestyle or work, which will involve other people, it's recognizing the right time to start saying it, because you don't know when you say something out loud, even if it's like you want to change your job. Say I don't know, you're working in some particular area or industry and you decide, oh, I'd love to be a chef, and maybe you trained as a chef years ago and you let it go. Well, unless you start talking to people maybe in the restaurant trade, or people who know somebody maybe who own a restaurant, when you start doing that, the energy, you're really, then the energy is being brought to life, and it sort of can interact with others who can help. And that's what happens. That's a big thing I've noticed. The energy, I think I was saying it at the beginning, is speeding up. I feel it, and we're all being called, I can feel my own, you can feel when your own frequency is rising, because things start to happen very quickly. And the more that you do things or don't do things that support that, you do start to feel the difference. So that's why I'm sort of making this video today, because I've just become very, very conscious of it. And it is a time in the world, do we want to be victims of circumstance and, believing that everything is happening to us? Or do we want to take a sort of an active role and go, no, I want to be part of creating a new world, a new life, a new community, whatever it is. So yeah, just the action as well. The energy, which I touched on, just again, really important. I heard someone saying it, it was American, I think, something about don't trash your energy. Like if if you're in a good place and you surround yourself with what keeps you uplifted, don't give that away by just going into an environment because you feel you should, or getting involved in a conversation that doesn't support you and what you want to create and what you want to be, because that really impacts your creative abilities. And because I know, if I, just as an example, if I get into a very stressed situation about something and I'm very worried, and I cannot create, I cannot go into that beautiful silent space. So just being conscious of that. And another thing, just as another suggestion, I did it earlier in the week. Often it happens in spring, doesn't it? Where you want to shake things up a bit, or clean things up and do a spring clean. But I moved a few things around, and I felt the difference, because even from like sitting in a different place, you see things differently, and then maybe you want to move things. So it shakes up the energy. I always think that's really good, whatever aspect of your life, good to move things around. And even cleaning out a press can, clean out the clutter energetically as well. And then just a final point that, in creating, as I have experienced, again, I'll speak from my experiences, it is sort of, there is a leap of faith you take. Now, sometimes what you're maybe choosing to create, say you're choosing to create a new job, and or leaving an old job, like there can be a certain amount of, oh my God, will it work out? All I can say is that we are shown, and I just see this so clearly all the time in my own life. I am always shown the next step, always, but I'm not always shown the end destination. Not that there is an end destination, but do you know what I mean? It could be, as I said, I'm visualizing, and have been on and off for quite a while, a type of place I want to live. And I know I'm not firm in that, and I'm not going, this has to be it. I'm following sort of what comes into my mind, my imagination, things I see, things I hear. And it's sort of fleshing out, but it could totally change, and that's fine. It's to go with that flow, that flow. It could show up, it generally usually does show up differently, doesn't it, than you think. Even the book I thought I was writing wasn't the book I ended up writing on some level, even though I know it was written before I wrote it. Or anyways, so that's another it's a whole another topic there too. But yeah, so I hope this video helps. I hope you really step into the amazing creative powers that you have in your life. And it's great fun practicing. Try it out on smaller things if it feels, whether it's, I don't know, imagining a new car, if that's what you feel you'd love to have in your life. See it and feel it, you have it, and nearly act. Doesn't matter, you have to act almost as if it's here. And I knew that very much with my book. I have to say, from day one, from the minute I sat down, I knew, but then very quickly, I knew this is going to be a book. Didn't know how. I know this is going to be a book. I know this is going to be a life changer for me, and I still feel that. But it's a step-by-step process, and it's wonderful. So enjoy creating in your life. This is it. This is the magic. This is how we all express and truly, embody that creative energy that we are, and share it with the world. Just wonderful, wonderful. So thank you for watching, and talk to you in the next video. Take care. Bye.